some things are believed because they are demonstrably true, but many other things are believed simply because they have been asserted repeatedly. Close quote. You wish to let that gloomy observation on human nature stand?
Yes.
We talking about propaganda? Yep, we're talking about propaganda. Welcome everyone to Talks with Kenny, and here today we're doing Inconvenient Truths about propaganda. Oh, specifically liberal propaganda. Now, as you saw in the beginning of this, of my intro of this video, we believe things that are true merely because it's repeatedly asserted, and this is liberal propaganda, right? Because there's a lot of things that I've been thinking about and reflecting upon about, like, why do we believe the things we believe, and why it seems like assumptions that we have in our culture tends to be liberal worldviews, right? And I believe it's mainly because of the fact that the Democratic Party, teacher unions are overwhelmingly liberal. They teach our kids, and if you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. And I believe this is liberal propaganda. Look at all the mainstream media. Majority of them are liberals. I told you, journalist is the most liberal profession in America, in the world. I already told you, journalists are overwhelmingly liberal. So in my head, I'm like, hey, what Malcolm X said, he who controls the media controls the people. Sorry. The media is the most dangerous entity in the world. It can make the guilty innocent and the innocent guilty. Isn't that what happened with Trump? Isn't this explaining Trump derangement syndrome? It's propaganda. People are made to feel so strongly, so emotional about a guy that they don't even know. Imagine that. I can never get that mad about Donald Trump. I can never. I don't care if I was a liberal. I can never be that mad about a guy I don't barely know. I cannot be invested in someone else's life that much that I don't care hell or high water. I won't support him. It makes no damn sense to me. But this is where we got to today because of what? Mainstream media, who are overwhelmingly liberal. And then when you call these people out, they want to get mad and offended that people don't trust them. People label them fake news, and they're mad about it. No, if the shoe fits, you're wearing it. And that's the reality. The reason why fake news is such fake news is because liberals have overwhelmingly taken over those institutions. And now that they've taken over the institutions, now they're supposed to have some perceived credibility. Ain't that interesting? So I want to read this point from Nikita. I always butcher these names. Khrushchev. In 1959, he warned, and maybe someone can correct me in the comment section, but here's a quote that I want to highlight before I go into the next clip. Your children's children will live under communism. You Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright, but we'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you finally wake up and find that you already have communism. We will not have to fight you. We will so weaken your economy until you will fall like overripe fruit into our hands. Imagine that. We were warned. 1959. And look at it today. Today, socialism is as popular as capitalism, especially the younger you go. A lot of people are pushing for democratic socialism. Are we not becoming, like, are we not trending that way? And the biggest point that this book referenced to me, and a lot of conservatives are starting to understand this point, is that education is the in my view, as a parent, as myself, is the most important issue of our time, because we're constantly being fed bad information because people are trying to guide us down a specific worldview, have a specific assumptions and outlook on issues, topics, right? And that's what's going on. And I believe it's coming mostly from the left, because the left controls a lot of these institutions. A lot of these institutions are catering to them and pushing their message, not our message, their message. Who's the alternative media? Conservatives. Because we're an endangered species in a lot of these institutions, but they want to sit here and pretend that they're objective. Folly. So this is Inconvenient Truths about propaganda, and I want to kind of, get some examples of propaganda. For instance, racism created slavery, right?
Race wasn't the basis of slavery?
Oh, it's a simple historical matter. Slavery existed for thousands of years, as far back as there are any records of human beings. Archaeological finds suggest that slavery existed before human beings could read and write. So, what a racial difference between the slaves and the enslavers, that is a relatively new phenomenon. You didn't have in ancient times the ability to go to another continent and move millions of people across, of a different race across the ocean. So you enslaved the people who were nearby. The Europeans enslaved Slavs for centuries before they brought the first black African to the Western Hemisphere.
Okay, but so you're not suggesting, you do not wish to say anything other than that slavery as practiced in the United States was, it may have been recent, but you'd be willing to grant that it was particularly perverse and destructive because race got mixed into it at that point, right?
Race got mixed into it in the United States more than anywhere else for a very simple reason. The United States was founded, as the Declaration said, of independence, said all men are created equal.
Right.
If that's true, then the only way you can justify slavery is to say that some men are less than men.
I see. So the racial
but in Brazil, where Brazil imported more slaves than the United States, there was no such ideology. Brazil was not a democratic country. The whole issue never arose.
Wow. We're trapped in our own ideals, right? America had ideas, and therefore we're being condemned for it. Imagine that. Imagine, and this is why I'm an American. This is why I'm a proud American. Like, I don't give a damn who you are. You ain't going to disparage my country without any actual proof and facts. You're going to come in, oh, slavery happened in America. Well, name me a country where slavery didn't happen at. Last time I checked, America was only 200 years old. Slavery been around for centuries. If you look at the first 200 years of any country that you can put an example of, they didn't end slavery in 200 years. America did, though. Within 200 years, in its infancy, around there, boom, slavery was gone, like probably halfway in. Imagine, America's only 200 years old, guys. I don't know. Let's put that in perspective. A lot of these countries been around for thousands of years. They're Well, if you want to look at it objectively, who had a bigger usage component of slavery? America has the least. Now, if you want to go, oh well, for half of its history, slavery existed. Yeah, because it hasn't been around that long. America's the little brother in the context of history. But people will call Thomas Sowell a grifter, right-wing propaganda. How is that right-wing propaganda? Because last time I checked, the truth is demonstrable. Is it a fact that Brazil imported more slaves than America? Yes or no? The moment many start asking questions like that, that's where the spinning coming. Oh, you want to frame it? They call Thomas Sowell all kinds of names, but they don't call him a liar because he's telling you the truth. And that's what propagandists do. And this is the inconvenient truth about propaganda, is that it's not self-evident. Propaganda only care about your perception of things, how you perceive things, not if it's actually factual or not. Because the whole point of propaganda is to get you to go towards their aim, right? And that goes for right wing, left wing, it doesn't matter. But in my argument as a conservative, I'll argue that a lot of things that gets labeled by the left as right wing propaganda is merely an advocacy or a view, a worldview on the issues. But we don't pretend like, oh, this is not true. We say, oh, yes, that's true, but this is why we're trying to explain why this thing happened. While the left, they don't do that. The left will just merely demonize you for merely questioning their perception of events. Right? And here's another quote, and this is from Stalin. Education is a weapon whose effects depend upon the hands who holds it and whom it is aimed. What is the aim of left-wing media, mainstream media? To get you to believe a certain narrative, right? This is why I said mainstream media is about narrative. Who controls it? I already said journalists, liberals, whatever, progressives, whatever. Remember, conservative journalists are an endangered species. So that means as a independent, as a person, if I was an apolitical person, the last thing I want to hear is a liberal trying to tell me what is misinformation or is not. When we just seen, because of COVID, a lot of these media corporations got exposed for misinformation. But we're supposed to still trust them? Make it make sense, guys. But hey, I digress. Here's another clip that's kind of going to, I'm just giving examples because people complain that I use PragerU too much. So I listen to your feedback, and now I'm switching up some of the sources that I use for Inconvenient Truths. And in this clip, we're going to observe an interaction between a Canadian politician I guess you guys kind of know the clip. It's an apple. And how he responds to the framing that this reporter is trying to ask him. And you can see clearly that this is not someone who's looking for the truth. This is not someone who's trying to look for an honest answer. This is someone merely trying to paint someone in a certain light. Let's take a look.
Sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological spectrum.
I never really talk about left
But
or right.
anyways,
I don't really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but
Like who?
I don't know who. But
Well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
you must know somebody.
Okay, I'm sure there's some out there. But anyways,
Some
the
people
point
say.
of this question is, I mean, why should Canadians trust you with their vote, given not just the sort of ideological inclination in terms of taking the page out of Donald Trump's book, but
What are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a
Okay.
page? Give me the page. You keep saying
in terms of turning things quite dramatically in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this. I mean, you make quite a it's quite a play that you make on it. So I'm
I'm not
just
sure.
wondering.
I don't know what your question
Okay,
is.
then forget that. Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense.
Okay.
Common sense for a change. We're going to make common sense common in this country. We don't have any common sense in the current government. The guy prints $600 billion, grows our money supply by 32% in 3 years. That's growing the money 8 times faster than the economy. No wonder we have the worst inflation in 4 decades.
Imagine wasting a minute and 30 seconds trying to frame the question, and merely you're just trying to ask them, why should Canadians vote for you? But instead of just leading with that and then give all this little fluff in the first minute and 30 seconds of the video, of the clip I just showed you, he's here in debating him of the framing. Hey, where you get that from? Who? According to who? What page am I taking? What are you talking about here? You see how the journalists stay in vagueness? He doesn't want to clarify where exactly he got it from. He says, I don't know. I believe some people think that way. Okay, but why bring up the question if you're not even sure yourself that this is the case? You see you see how these people don't really care about the truth? And this is propaganda. That's an example of propaganda. They're just trying to, instead of just ask the question, this is how I would do it. Hey, why should Canadians vote for you? He outlines his case. And then if I have personal questions, hey, do you think that's an actually correct solution? Do you think this actually is the cause of the problems that we're facing today? And why is that? Instead of letting the person express his views, his position, his perspective, and then you at home, me, all of us, just sit back and say, I agree with his point here. I can see how he got to this conclusion. I don't think that's the correct solution. Instead of letting us do the framing for ourselves and get something out of it ourselves, he wants to kind of control the whole thing from start to finish. Hey, I want to load it up with all this stuff. Hey, we want you to make him seem radical. We want you to make him look at him as a crazy populist. So that way his answers, even though it sounds reasonable, you want it front loaded with all this framing. So that way when he gives his answer, it seems extreme. And that's the inclination that a lot of media people, a lot of reporters are trying to do. See, this is why I started this channel, because I believe I want to give a contrary view to things from my personal perspective. I'm open with my bias. I give you, but end of the day, I point to why I believe to what I believe. I point to the evidence or the source that I get the information from, and then we can debate about the information in the comment section. That's why I started this channel, because I really believe that it will take a decentralized movement to really fix the problems that we're facing in our country and in any country actually. And this is why Argentina, congrats to them, they got their revolution. I think we need our own, because I'm tired of this. I'm really tired of these people who think they know what's best for you. They try to lead you down a path like, hey, no, this is not how it goes. We're adults. I believe anyone who's watching this have the mental fortitude to come to their own conclusions about things, and I don't need to front load a bunch of ish and give it to you. No, I'm just like, hey, look, this is where I got coming from. This is why I disagree. Why you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comment section. That's all I do. But for some reason, mainstream media, they're scared of that to the point where they tell YouTube to change their algorithm so videos like mine auto suggest to the legacy media because they're more authoritative sources. Who decides that? According to who? That's a fallacy in and of itself. What's an authority? We should be caring about what's the truth. And this is why they love censorship. This is why establishment people love censorship. This is why they love to rig the game in their favor, but it ain't going to work. Because I believe in humanity. I'm an optimist. I believe at the end of the day, we're all going to come around to the BS and realize, yo, this ain't working for us. This is not to our benefit. It's to their benefit. And we're already seeing it with social media. Most people get their news from social media, at least as from a millennial speaking. But hey, I digress. For the final point of the inconvenient truth about liberal propaganda, I want to talk about socialism. And, I already kind of hinted at it in the beginning of this video. But I like this clip from Ben Shapiro, how he outlines exactly how socialism became as popular as capitalism in 2023. Let's take a look.
Socialism has become very popular among young people. And the reason that it's become popular among young people is because they've been told that it is moral. Not that it works, not that it's great, but that it's moral. It's fair. And we all like things that are fair. If we're in a room and somebody has more money and somebody has less money, wouldn't it be more fair if we just pooled the money and then we split it up evenly among the participants? Just like the cookies in kindergarten. Except, of course, that's not the way the world works, and that's not actually moral. Because in a free country, wealth and the capacity to gain it is largely contingent on the decisions that you make. It doesn't just fall upon you. Most wealth in the United States is not inherited. Most wealth in the United States is created over the course of lifetimes by people who engage in economic activity and commerce. Capitalism is good because capitalism is freedom. Socialism is bad because socialism is tyranny. Not it's an aspect of tyranny. Socialism itself is tyranny. The statement of socialism is that your labor is owed to the society. The notion of socialism is that you do not own your own freedom. You do not own your own time. You do not own your own labor. You do not own your own work. You do not own the products of your own work. The basic notion of capitalism is you own all of those things, and now you have to engage in free exchange with someone else who does not owe you anything. If you want to thrive, if you want to succeed, you are going to have to make something somebody else wants. People think capitalism is selfishness. No, socialism is selfishness. The notion that I have to somehow supply you the money so you can sit in your basement and paint with watercolors. Socialism, the idea that I'm supposed to fulfill all your dreams by paying you for something I don't want and have no need for. But capitalism is precisely the opposite. We all do stuff in our daily jobs that we don't like. Why? Because there's a group for it who want to consume it.
Exactly. It's voluntary. And I got some people in the comment section get mad about, oh, capitalism is not voluntary. Yes, it is. If you choose to participate in it, and then no one's forcing you to work a certain job, whatever. You're mad that you have to work, but that's the reality of life, right? Every species have to work for their food. All you have to do is look out into the wild. If the deer don't want to get eaten, it runs away from the lion. If the lion wants food, he has to get the deer. It's nature, right? And this is the funny part. It be these circular, atheist, humanist people who are the most socialist. Oh, it's fair, it's fair. And I'm like, yo, look at reality. The reality is every species has to work for their food. They don't just exist to exist. You can't sustain yourself just existing without doing nothing. This is entitlement. It sounds good. Oh yeah, it's fair. Oh yeah, you have $80,000 that's not just sitting in your bank account. It'll be better if you use it for other people. No, what if I have a $80,000 emergency? Instead of going to the government, I can handle it myself and don't have to burden other people with my problems. But because you don't know how to manage your finances, because you don't know how to properly make correct decisions, now it's an emergency on my part to come help you and bail you out of your own situation. Moral hazards. This is what happened with this is what's going on right now. Everyone's looking to the government. It creates a moral hazard where people has increased expectation for the government to bail them out of problems. And this is how you get socialism. This is how you get communism. This is how you get a helpless class, a dependency class. This is why conservatives are against social entitlements. But did anything I just said there, is that propaganda? Or that's merely an observation that I observe and I'm just articulating my case? Because a lot of liberals, a lot of people on the left will say that, we're conspiracy theories. It's merely, hey, here's an opinion I have and I express. Here's what I'm basing the opinion on. What do you think? And because they don't have no I guess, valid counter to it, they just want to label you names because that's easier. It's easier to frame you as crazy, a conspiracy theorist, a bigot, a dummy, an ignorant person. You ain't black. You're a non-ethos. You're a grifter. It's easier to call you names because that's propaganda. That's propaganda. That's the real propaganda. It's easier to call you a coon than to actually combat or challenge the argument that's been presented to them. This is why I don't have a lot of respect for black progressives, because I believe they play this game a lot, especially in the black community. This is why the black community votes 90% for the Democratic Party, because anytime a black man like me come up and we express a contrary opinion, instead of debating the opinion, they want to label us names, try to discredit us, try to show, oh, this is not really a black person. Oh, look, he's looking for the acceptance of white folks. I'm not looking for the acceptance of anyone but the truth. Because how can you get better as a people, as a community, if you are 10 toes down on wrong information that doesn't actually help your people? That don't make sense to me. If you're playing basketball and you're doing something that's hurting you, your chances of making the team or being a better player, isn't it up to the coach to call it out so that way you have an opportunity to become better? But that's how I look at the black community. You messing up, and I'm just trying to say, hey, oh, look, I think there's a better way of doing it. And you get mad because I criticize how you play. My playing style can work. You 5'5". How you gonna keep going to the hole when there's players on average taller than you? That's not an effective way to play for your height. But black people don't want to hear it. And this is the problem with propaganda. I'll end the video with this quote, and it's my favorite quote, Malcolm X quote. I just said it in the beginning. The media is the most dangerous entity on this earth. Overwhelmingly, Democrats control it. Overwhelmingly, liberal people who are sympathetic to the Democratic Party, they overrun these institutions. But you still believe you're making an educated decision when you're only getting it from one side. That's propaganda to me. That's an echo chamber to me. But you want to sit here and pretend, oh, the conservatives do it too. Okay, give me the evidence. Show us where there's a platform just merely for us. You gonna say Rumble? Rumble's open for everybody. Conservatives don't censor people on Rumble. Progressives are on Rumble too. But what about YouTube though? Who gets shadow banned? Who complains about shadow banned? Who complains about getting deboosted? Conservatives? Isn't that you get me? It seems like people on the left, they get mad when conservatives have an even playing field because they know on the merits itself, on the messages and the positions that they hold, it's almost untenable. That's why they always have to focus on you, the individual. They always got to critique me, the individual, not the message, not the argument, not the statement. They have to critique you. They have to discredit you because they know they can't really challenge what you said. This is why they play all these useless games of trying to put you in a certain light. Because that's the only effective way they have left to convince a mass swath of people. But, I digress. That's the inconvenient truth about liberal propaganda. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the switch up. Let me know your feedback in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree with my statements. You don't agree. If you want to add your own comments to the feedback in the comment section, please do. I would like to look at them, listen in on your guys' perspectives. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next Inconvenient Truth. Peace.